On this episode, we give you 7 minutes worth of information for first-time travelers. Maybe 8, depends on if Chris talks too much. Atlas All Access starts now.
From Kirkham at 0450.
Okay, so we tried to get Adam Collette back in here, and he had something else to do.
Yeah, he just wanted to see me fail at this because he knows how nervous I get, and he's so good at it. So let's do this.
No, we're not building him up. What are you doing?
And we're not building him up?
No, we were tearing him down.
Oh, okay, my bad.
So anyway, Chris Madrigal joins us today. We're going to talk first-time travelers.
Yep.
We haven't talked about this in a while. It's good to revisit. We're getting into December now.
Mm-hmm.
Contracts for January are all over the place, right?
Yep.
And if it's one of those things where you put it off until now and you thought, okay, I'm going to start my travel career in 2019, maybe here's a couple tips for you to get started. So, you ready?
Absolutely.
So Chris Madrigal, been a recruiter for 4 years?
4 years, yeah.
A little over 4 years. So he knows a thing or two. He's been around the block once or twice.
Yep, love first-time travelers.
So, all right. So let me ask you some questions. One, very simply, how do these start?
I think that making that decision to actually become a traveler to where you go out online, research a couple agencies, and actually go to fill out an application. I think a lot of nurses in the industry have come across travelers or they've thought about it. And I would say that you would be beyond that. So the biggest step, I think, is because you're going to eventually take a step in faith when you decide how you want to do it. But I would say, finding out a location or finding out what you want in a travel contract. Is it location? Is it a work type vacation? Is it all about the money? Are you trying to pay off, your loans or a car or build, saving for a house? So I think that's the first step, is understanding what your motivations are. And I think that goes in line with actually just doing your documentation just to be universal about it. You have to fill out an application. You have to do a checklist. You got to do a resume and or fill out that, website together. So I would say that would be the first step, is just, I know that sounds really simple, but I've come across a lot of travelers that have thought about it. Maybe they've been egged on by their friend to say, oh, you really want to do this? But then when I get to start talking to the traveler, there's just sometimes a little bit of resistance. So I would say, it's almost time to, so make sure it's something that you want to do and understand what your motivations are.
Understand what your why is, right? We talk about what's your why all the time.
Correct.
And to take some time to really think through that. If your why is just you want to make a ton of money, okay, well, you're not going to see cool stuff. Right? I mean, you're going to go to places like North Dakota, right?
Well, Fargo's kind of cool.
North Dakota isn't cool,
yeah, I like
right?
Fargo.
I mean, I do too, but it's
Correct.
It's not, the Colorado. It's not California. It's
Tampa in summer, or winter, I should say,
right.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So exactly, and not to say that there aren't contracts like that,
right.
But I mean, as a rule of thumb, it's important that as when you get into this industry, there's a whole world of travelers that's what they've been doing for a lot of years. And some travelers, that's all they do. Others are maybe seasonal, where they'll take a contract or two a year. So just to understand that where you want to go, that's a good point, to just understand what your options are.
Yep.
Cool.
So second question, what do you need to start? So, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. One, you need to make sure that you've got enough money in the bank, right?
Correct.
Two, you need to be super comfortable with filling out some applications and some skills checklists.
Correct.
Right, because you're going to do a ton of that.
Correct.
What else would you need to start? Am I missing anything there?
No, I mean, just the basics. Have a good running vehicle. You'd be surprised. Understand what area you're going to. Front wheel drive may be okay, but if you're going to the northern states, especially around January, there's winter, there's snow. So I would say that would be just being prepared, understanding what's vital to you in travel and how you're traveling. So I would say, the application, and maybe to just kind of, maybe take a step back, like if you're comfortable with the agency that you're talking to, like I would say talk to several agencies, get a feel, because this is somebody that you're going to need to trust, and they're going to care about you or not care about you. So before you really fill out any paperwork, vet out some agencies. Then that way I recommend maybe you have 1 or 2 agencies. That's not a big deal. But at the same time, I think as a first-time traveler, don't feel obligated that you have to have all these application skills checklists paid or filled out, I should say, before they talk to you about what to expect.
Well, and that was my next question is, how many agencies should you work with? And I would say, at minimum 2.
Correct.
Right? Maximum 3?
Maybe, and to be, just be really helpful, you can pick a couple agencies, but at some point, it just depends on what you're looking in regional, because there's some large institutional corporate agencies that are large that maybe one of those companies is enough. And then maybe for some of those mid-sized to smaller, then sure. But like with Atlas, we're able to, I would say like an Atlas or kind of in that size, and then maybe another one. Just the reason why you want to do that is sometimes not all agencies have the same contract. But that's, regardless of whether it's 2's the number, 3 or 4, I think the key is to have open communication with all of them. A healthy relationship should be able to be predicated on trust and conversation of, this is what I'm looking for. I know I have a lot of travelers that sometimes it's like, hey, you're better off, going with this agency at this particular place because of this reason, and so that's something that I think it would be helpful for a first-time traveler.
So then final question, and obviously there's going to be way more questions than this that you might have through that process, but final question here, where can you find help? Like, if you need help along the way, where can you find that? Like, there are paid services out there, maybe, or whatever. Regardless, I think there's information for you to consume out there that would give you the answers that you need.
Correct.
Right?
I think social media, I think you got to check your facts and maybe, check multiple websites. I think Blue Pipes is awesome. Can we say that?
Absolutely. Kyle's a friend of the show.
Yeah, so, Blue Pipes is excellent because it's objective. It kind of explains in detail from getting started why agencies ask what they do. It talks about pay. It talks about guaranteed hours. A lot of things that sometimes can be very confusing, not just to first-time travelers, but to experienced travelers that may not have had, those discussions with their recruiter. So I think a lot of the Facebook, there's a lot of communities out there that's by nurses for nurses. But I also think that, within their own hospital, to just ask travelers or friends that know of travelers and, just get a good sample size, make sure that there's a, depending on specialty and opinions, you could have 5 nurses that are different specialties, or even on the same unit for that matter. They may have a different perspective on what their experience was. And you got to kind of mesh that personality with what they're telling you. But at the end of the day, I think, there's a lot of agencies that are willing to talk to you and help explain. And if they're not, that's a simple vetting. Well, I didn't get the information I wanted. Or if you have to pay to play, so to speak, then maybe that's not something you want to do. So I think, a lot of companies are doing wonderful things by just putting out information there. So I think that's very helpful.
Absolutely. And like you said, Blue Pipes is a great place to start. Kyle's done an amazing job with that website. Scrub Squad 1978, Thomas Piper's group, is a great place to start too. Lots of good discussion in there.
That RV one is pretty cool too. I don't know if you guys want an RV as a first-time traveler, but some people go big or go home, right? So that's kind of a cool way.
Why not? I think those are some of the when I see those posts online, like they bought their RV for the first time and they're taking their first contract and they're going, heck yeah, that is awesome. Like you said, go big or go home. I like it. I like that a lot. So I think what's most important there is there are free resources out there that you can find that won't cost you any money and that won't have and I can say this because we are an agency, right? Agency biased slant. Right?
Correct.
Even the stuff that we do right here, right? Even all the stuff that we produce might have an Atlas slant at times, right? It just happens that way. There are places where you can find that information that doesn't have that bias.
Correct. And they shouldn't require you to fill out any information to just talk to you and give information. I think that's something that, that I think we try really hard here, as much as we're biased, to be objective, that there's an industry and there's an experience out there that's beyond Atlas. And as an industry, we want to, help to change kind of the old ways so that, We can all, do wonderful things, because at the end of the day, it's about helping nurses who are treating our loved ones and are with us in times that are really hard. And I think sometimes in the industry we forget, because either business reasons or whatever, that we forget at the end of the day, if we're successful in doing what we do, there is a patient, there is a person, there is a young child, a grandparent, there is somebody that means the world to a large family that nurse is able to help, and that's really what it's about.
Absolutely. So, Chris, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Little sweaty palms, a little nervous.
You did so much better than Adam has ever done.
I never really moved my mouth. I'm always like, so yeah, just kind of like.
Where was my close-up on that one? Well. So, all right, Chris, thank you so much. If you have questions about traveling at all, we have a ton of content on our Facebook channel, on our YouTube page, on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, Instagram, Atlas and Friends group on Facebook, or pick up the phone, give this guy a call, or any one of the recruiters at Atlas a call. No strings attached, right? You're just going to have those conversations, and we'd be happy to answer those questions for you.
Thank you.
So, all right, we'll see you next week.